And hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. I'm Pat McDonald with Radigan Media. He's Tim Burney with the Sports Reports. Tim, we're here for episode 18, and coming up in a little bit, we're excited to have Troy quarterback Evan Woodward.
Yeah, it should be fun. The powerhouse over there would be interesting to get a little inside look at that.
Absolutely. So let's start with NTL football here on this episode of Two Guys Talking Sports. And we can start with the Troy Trojans, I guess. They keep on rolling. They go down to Central Mountain and beat them up 62-10.
Yeah, I mean, bigger school. Central Mountain's been struggling this year, but they just keep rolling. I mean, and there's no shortage of weapons. Big offensive line that provides time when they do throw, provides time and big holes. And I don't know what more you can say about that team.
Yeah, really well coached, obviously, too, with Jimmy Smith over there.
All the way around.
And just on a roll so far, 9-0 on the year, firmly in that number one spot in the District 4 Class 2A standing. So they're going to have that top seed no matter what. Towanda actually is the second seed right now in District 4 at 7-2. So let's talk about them. That's probably the most impressive win of the week, maybe. They go down to Tunkhannock on the road. I watched it on TV Friday night over at the Blackburn. They had it on. It was on one of the channels down there, and Towanda gets a 28-3 win. Close game early on, and then Riley Vanderbilt and company pulled away.
Yeah, I don't know. Tunkhannock's never been a football powerhouse, so I really don't know how to gauge that. But whenever you take a long road trip and you come out with a 28-3 win, you can't be anything but happy about that.
Yeah, and I think hopefully they came back healthy from there and getting set up for the big rivalry matchup, bronze helmet game with the Wyalusing Rams. Wyalusing this week took a tough loss, Hughesville 24-7.
Hughesville's pretty solid. They're much improved over the last few years. We've talked about it all year long. Wyalusing is a little bit one-dimensional. Well, actually, a lot one-dimensional. And it's tough to win football games that way unless you're just physically better than the other team.
Yeah, and Wyalusing, unfortunately, unless they can somehow find a way to beat Towanda this week, it looks like they'll be out of the District 4 playoffs with that loss. Hughesville now the 6th seed, Wyalusing the 9 right now. So, but you never know, because 7, 8, and 9, 7 through 10, so Bloomsburg, South Williamsport, Wyalusing, and CV, who's now won 3 in a row, are all at 4 and 5, and right there within percentage points away from each other.
A nice little story there, Kawaneski Valley, with 3 wins in a row and beating North Penn Mansfield. A lot of good athletes over there, and they've got some numbers and some good young talent. And seem to be, I don't know anything about the new coach, but 4 and 5 at Kawaneski Valley's
pretty good. Yeah,
it doesn't happen very often. I know they won 6 games a couple years ago, but that's a nice season.
Especially when it's been a quick rebuild for them because they lost their coach and quarterback a couple years ago, and then you lose your best player, goes to Waverly.
Yeah, exactly.
And Fletcher Good. So they've really turned it around. It's going to be most likely a 4-6 year. They play Montgomery this week, who's pretty good. Yeah. So. But yeah, not a bad win, not a bad season
at all.
The Indians over there. Unfortunately for our teams here in the Valley on the PA side of things, it was a tough weekend. Athens goes down to Muncie, and I was going to say the Austin Johnson show. He had a great game. I think only a few carries for a couple hundred yards, but then they ran for like 600 yards. So obviously
not quite that much, but they did have 600 total yards.
Total yards, yeah.
But no, they had the name escapes me now, but they had another running back who put up a couple 70, 80, 90-yard runs or whatever it was. And also, just Muncie, I'm telling you, I know Line Mountain's
Muncie's the top seed now.
Kind of darling right there now, but that's going to be a great game. That would be one I haven't paid for a sporting event in 30 years, but that might be one I would probably pay for.
Yeah, Line Mountain took another loss, so they're 6-3, but their losses are by a combined, 8 points. And they lost to Lewisburg, who's 8-1 in AAA. They lost to the powerhouse Steelton High Spire by 3, and then they lost to Camp Hill this past week, 21-19. So
give them credit for scheduling.
Absolutely, getting. They're dropping down from AA to Single A this year. So I think between Muncie and Line Mountain, whoever wins the District 4 title might have a good shot to make a run.
As long as they can beat Steelton High Spire.
Yeah, they'll face them in the state semis like they do every year in District 4. Yeah. So. Our buddy Doc Massey down at the Sun Gazette called Muncie. It was like video game numbers down there. So impressive win for them. 63-26, they beat Athens. So
in Athens, say what you want about Athens, they really haven't been, other than Troy, haven't really been run over defensively. Defensively, more of their struggles have mostly been offensive at times. But Muncie obviously did a number on them offensively too.
Canton gets a win over the Sarah Redskins 55-13, so Canton kind of bouncing back a little bit these last few weeks. They're at 5-4.
Getting a little healthy
on the year.
Is that old shoe.
Unfortunately, they got to play Troy, then they got to play Muncie, so it's a couple of tough weeks coming up for the Warriors there. Other games this past week, you had Montgomery beating up South Williamsport 42-14, so obviously South just a
that
tough year.
surprised me a little bit. Not that Montgomery won, but that there was that one-sided. So I think, Montgomery just, unfortunately for them, they're in a bracket with...
They'll play Lime Mountain right away.
Muncie, so just...
So a tough one there. Wellsboro 46-0 over Northwest. So nice win for the Hornets as they've had a tough year. Obviously, we've talked some losses they had in the offseason off the football field, obviously, there. So... Yeah, where do you obviously you go into week 9's over now? It's rivalry week here in the NTL. It's always fun.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not sure if we could find a real good game out of the rivalries this year. I mean, I don't know that
Troy's going to be heavily favored over Canton.
Athens going to be a heavy favorite going into the Rusty Rail and
Towanda over Weilersing.
Yeah, and I just it's too bad. Those are always always a fun time of year, but
I can't remember the name of their rivalry game, but maybe the North Penn Mansfield Wellsboro could be a decent game over there. So that's Friday night over there. South Williamsport's at Northwest, Montgomery at CV on Saturday, Muncie at Hughesville. But yeah, the local NTL, they have the rivalry showdowns. It's always fun. We're doing a tailgate party and show at Athens on Friday from 4 to 6 or so, and doing the game as well. So. They always say, throughout the records, though, you never know in the Rusty Rail game. There's been some surprises over the years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And this would be a major one, I think. And that, like I said, I made it clear that I think Sarah's done a nice job as far as keeping the numbers in the program, and that's the key. That's what they've got to do this year. They got their win. Unfortunately, I was hoping they get a couple, 2 or 3, but as long as they keep the kids interested in the program moving forward, that's what I need to do.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of NTL football, let's throw it to our interview with Troy senior quarterback Evan Woodward. And joining us now here on Two Guys Talking Sports is Troy senior Evan Woodward. How are we doing tonight, Evan?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing really well. So let's start with your senior year. When I talk to seniors, I always ask them, what's it been like? What's the start of the year like? It's like your first practice, first 2 days, which is probably a good thing, I guess. But what's it been like so far?
Yeah, it feels so weird. I mean, knowing that this is the last high school season that I'll play, but just looking back and thinking how fast it's going, it's crazy to think about.
Kind of talk about the bond this group of football players and basketball players have had over these last 4 years.
Yeah, so, a lot of us have played all the way up through from Pee-wees to now, so the bond and chemistry that we've created is really something special.
A lot of people talk about you guys are big and physical. You like to run the football on people. And I know a lot of that starts up front. And people talk about all the work you guys do in the weight room. Talk a little bit about that, and who are some of the real workout warriors and the guys leading you in the weight room?
Yeah, that's something that put a lot of pride in, and working out in the off season and getting in the weight room, and even in season working out some too. So the whole team works really hard, but a couple key kids would be a couple other seniors: Avery Sands, Easton Terberry, Brendan Gillen, Cale Millard, and Mason Smith, and Reed Palmer, and there's several other people that work really hard. But there's a big list, but
yeah,
something we could.
Talk about, you guys had an unbelievable season last year. You run into the state powerhouse in Southern Columbia in this district finals, and you give them all they want in that game. Talk a little bit about last season, and then maybe has that motivated you, that last game? Has that motivated you guys at all this year?
Yeah, obviously it's a new year this year, but obviously you got a little chip on your shoulder from last year, and they got us the year before too. So, it's something that's in the back of our heads, but we just got to take one game at a time.
I know you're not supposed to, but do you kind of look at them? Have you been following along? Obviously, they've had more losses regular season this year than they've had in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at some of the scores and watched little games that have been online, but I mean, they're a great program. I mean, you got to expect the best out of them, and I expect them to turn up come playoff time even more than they have.
Yeah, what was Coach Smith's message after last year's district loss there?
I mean, we got to use that as a learning opportunity, and hopefully we can take things out of that game and use them this year in the playoffs.
Has this team found a kind of new identity this year, you think? Obviously, you always have to replace some pieces, right? So how did that work this year?
Yeah, there's a couple of key players that we lost last year, but the people that have stepped up this year have done a pretty good job so far.
Have you guys, it looks to me as, I mean, you still run the ball a lot and very effectively, but it looks like you've thrown the ball a little bit more this year. I mean, you know, as quarterback, would you like to throw the football more, or are you pretty happy with the way things are going?
Yeah, I'm happy with whatever we need to do to get the win, but you know, either way is fine with me. But yeah, we have been passing this year a little bit more than we have in past years historically.
I mean, I would think that just makes you more dangerous, harder to defend.
Yeah, it definitely helps keeps the defense honest. I mean, running and passing opens up running sometimes, and then the running opens up the passing. So, I mean,
I was going to ask you about the community support, but to do that, let's go back. Obviously, tragedy struck back in February 2023. Your mom passed away in a car accident. Talk about the community support right after that. You're in the middle of basketball season, a playoff run in basketball, and obviously you guys, it's an incredible story going on to win district title, right? First one in a long time. So kind of talk about how the community rallied around you guys at that point.
Yeah, that was really special to me and my family. I mean, the whole community was around us, and they helped us out a lot, helped us get through it. And I mean, it definitely still affects us all today, but I mean, I really appreciated all the community support that we had.
Talk about how much did you and your dad, obviously, and your brother Mason lean on each other during that time?
Yeah, that was a big time for us to look at the ones that are closest to us and know that that's what we got. So we got to use each other as keep moving forward.
That community support is still going, right? So you see it every time at Outbound Park on a Friday night. How big is that for you just to be able to run out on Outbound Park Friday nights and be the starting quarterback for the Troy Trojans?
Yeah, it's something special. I love playing at Outbound. You know, that's the home stadium, and the fans always come out and support us, and it's something great. I'll remember it forever.
Yeah, you got the old shoe coming up this weekend. You guys you're going to be prohibitive favors, but I'm sure Coach Smith is drilling it through your heads. You can't take this Canton team lightly.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a big game, and you know it's always a game everyone's looking forward to. The last game of the season, rivalry, and you know anything can happen in this game as well as any other game, but especially this one, rivalry week, and you know we'll have to see what happens.
Now you guys, I mean, you're not very far apart. You're a little farther apart than Sarah and Athens, but you know most of these guys, right? That you're playing against at Canton, and you know, friendly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, we've played all the way up through, and I've got a couple other buddies that live over there and that play football. So, yeah, a little friendly competition.
Obviously, you guys would probably love to match. Canton goes to 2 straight state semifinals a few years ago. Is that how big would that be to kind of make that run, get past whoever you face in the playoffs in districts, because you don't know who you'll have come to Outbound Park, but how big would that be to make that run?
Yeah, they had an incredible run, and that was something special being able to support them with that. And, you know, hopefully we can go as far as we can and do something like that.
Were you guys rooting for Canton when they were playing in those playoff games?
Yeah. Once we were done, it was supporting them, you know. They're neighboring, so you got to support them.
That's awesome.
You talked about Outbound Park being your home field. What's it like playing at Outbound Park? It's obviously an old school field. It gets beat up sometimes during the year when there's youth football and soccer and
rain
and you know, demolition derby or whatever else they have over there. What's it like playing at Outbound?
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up playing there through like Pee Wees and junior high and now varsity, and it's home. So, but it's an awesome experience to play down there.
Yeah, speaking of Pee Wees, I was over there watching my buddy coach's youth football here at Athens. I was over there when they played at Troy, and I saw you reffing on the field. What's that like to be able to give back to the youth program and be a ref and make a little money on the way too? I know, but what's that like?
Yeah, yeah, it's a little different perspective to the game, but it's something nice. You can kind of understand a little bit more about the game.
Hey, I know we're not done with football season yet, but looking ahead a little bit to basketball season, you guys have had 2 really good years. Obviously, I know you graduated a few key seniors from last year's team. Your thoughts on guys coming in to replace them, and what you think how you think you guys will do this year.
Yeah, we're gonna have some kids step up and fill in some big shoes, but hopefully we're able to get together and go for a run.
What's it like playing for your dad as the head coach there at Troy?
It's fun. I mean, it's a little bit weird sometimes living in the same house as your coach, but it's fun. I mean, there's no one else I'd rather have coaching me. It's a good relationship.
I've seen the coaches coach their kids over the years, and most of the time they are tougher on their sons or daughters than they are on the other kids. Your dad take some things out on you during practice and make an example of you at times, or how's that work?
Not too bad. I feel like he does a pretty good job, but at coaching everyone the same. But maybe sometimes it might be a little different. But
now, do you guys do a pretty good job of when you get home, it's home, and you're reviewing film too much at the dinner table?
Yeah, he does a good job of that. I mean, when we're at basketball, we're at basketball. When we're at home. He's my dad at home, so.
It's got to be pretty helpful to be able to ask him a question, though, if you have a question about the game film or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously you got a few months left as a Troy Trojan. What's the plans going forward?
I'm pretty undecided still. I mean, I'm thinking college, but I don't know where or what for or what the plan is yet.
Hey, you still got time. Enjoy the rest of your senior year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll try.
That is Troy senior Evan Woodward, the quarterback for the Trojans. They're going to play this Friday night at Alperon Park against the rival Canton Warriors in the Old Shoe game. Evan, thanks for joining us here on Two Guys Talking Sports, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yep, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Evan.
And welcome back to Two Guys Talking Sports. We want to thank Troy senior Evan Woodward for stopping by, talking to us. Good luck to him and the Trojans the rest of the way. Tim, let's focus on Northern Tier League soccer here in this last segment. Obviously, playoffs underway in the District 4. So what do we got going on? Obviously, for us here in the Valley, Athens, a doubleheader on Saturday.
Yeah, both teams playing Shikellamy, if I remember right.
Yep.
And they both teams obviously have a chance. They both play great defense. They're well coached, so they're going to be in the ball games. Just neither team, neither the boys or the girls, have been able to score consistently on good teams. And when you get in the playoffs, you're playing a good team, especially when there's only 4 of them.
Yeah.
And so I think if they win these games, it's going to be 1-0, or it's not going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, they've well coached, athletic, play good defense, but you still got to score to win games in the postseason.
Absolutely.
And it's I don't know.
The one big thing, obviously, we talked, I think, a few episodes so far about how much Athens boys soccer we talk about a lot, but the girls soccer too. Coach Pitts, the girls, and Coach Lezak, they just schedule like crazy in the regular season, so they're prepared for these kind of games because they know when you go down to District 4, they're going down to Loyalsock to play Shikellamy. The refs let the play go a little bit more down there. It's more physical, and you got to be ready for that, but you also got to be ready for the challenge.
And a lot of these kids down there, schools play year round. Mm-hmm. Because the soccer kids are down there anyway. A lot of them are one sport kids, and they play year round. And Athens, when they had their most success, they had a bunch of one sport soccer only kids. And So yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's always tough this time of year going down there. The girls have a couple district titles and the boys have, I think, one. In all this time, so it's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, Coach Lezak's last year. Let's see, maybe they can go on a little bit of a run here for him. And the boys soccer for NTL teams, Williamson, unfortunately, they're done. Lost 2-1 tonight. This is Tuesday night. Now we're recording this, so they're done. They lost 2-1 to Loyal Sock. Saturday, Wellsboro will take on Montoursville.
Yeah, Wellsboro's been the best boys program in the NTL for several years now. But like I said, different soccer down there. So, I think they're the 4 seed and Montoursville's the 5. So, even match up there. We'll see what happens. NTL schools haven't had a lot of luck in districts.
Yeah, like we talk about scheduling a lot, and Athens is one of the teams that really does a good job of that. Some of the other teams, you don't see a lot of that competition outside of the NTL, so sometimes you get down there, you get a little different.
Yep.
Girls soccer, Troy is second seed, I believe. They get a quote unquote home game basically at Towanda against another NTL team in Williamson. So good on the District 4 at least for not making those two teams travel somewhere.
Yeah, and
somewhere like Balls Mills to play that game.
Obviously Troy beat Williamson this year, but I think it was a pretty close game, especially at Williamson. The Troy girls probably the best bet or best hope for the NTL as far as the district title goes, but then they run into Central Columbia, who's a powerhouse, the number 1 seed. That'll be a tough out there.
So Williamson looks like Troy beat them 5-1 early on at Williamson, but then just a 1-0 game last time they played. So in Troy, so interesting there. Just before we went on air here, Wyalusing gets a win 8-0 over Meadowbrook Christian, so they'll play Muncie on Saturday. So good for the Rams. Get a
nice win,
playoff win.
A program that a few years ago couldn't win, and the last 2 or 3 years have been pretty good program over there. Some talented girls, and they've done a nice job.
Absolutely. We'll talk about volleyball playoffs next week, as we have one more week, I believe, of the regular season here.
Yeah, we got the Big Athens Sarah matchup on Tuesday, and I think Northeast Bradford, Troy are probably our best bets in the districts.
So let's turn our attention to some college sports. You're a Notre Dame fan. I'm a Penn State fan, so we got plenty to talk about. Notre Dame, after that ugly loss to Northern Illinois, has really turned it around, though. I mean, the schedule hasn't been the toughest thing in the world, but now it's funny to say you're about to play probably maybe your toughest game of the year so far.
Other than A&M.
A&M first week, but Navy on the road, quote unquote, at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, but still Navy's undefeated, ranked 24th, so a top 25 matchup's always fun.
Yeah, and Navy, I don't think they're running that triple option anymore, so that always gave Notre Dame fits because you just don't see it anymore. But Notre Dame's big. They've been battling a bunch of injuries though. So the problem is their schedule this year, and it's not their fault, but Florida State is not good. Some of the teams they were figuring would be big wins for them just aren't that good. Luckily, Navy and Army have both stepped up and are undefeated in the top 25.
USC's struggling really right now.
Exactly, and so Notre Dame can't afford to lose again. No. Like Alabama lost their second game, but they're still in the hunt because one of those losses is the number 1 team, or actually.
They're Alabama and the SEC, which is
exactly. So they get a little more rope. So, but it's been a crazy year so far with the upsets, and
absolutely.
We may not have a team undefeated going into the playoff.
No, might be the perfect year for this 12-team playoff. I mean, there's no dominant team there, but yeah, like you were saying, they scheduled Stanford every year, and I mean, Stanford 10 years ago was really really strong team, and now that's kind of a easier win for you most years. So yeah, it'd be interesting. You get Army in a couple weeks too. Army's undefeated as well, so should be interesting. Penn State off last week, nice comeback win over at USC. But
the fact they were USC's an enigma this year to me because they look good for stretches and then they just
that roster's talent. I mean that roster's quick. It's crazy that they're struggling in the Big Ten on the road, especially. I think the teams that have gone all the way across country either way are like 3-12 or something in the Big Ten.
Well,
it's going to be interesting.
You look at these teams coming in. Texas gets smacked by Georgia in their first taste of a big SEC football game. And then who was it? Oklahoma got just throttled by South Carolina, who was a middling in the SEC.
Yeah, Oklahoma 4-3 now.
And Washington loses to Rutgers in their first Big Ten game. So, just welcome to big time. And as good as the Pac-12 was last year, the consistency that you have to maintain to be good in the SEC and Big Ten is a little different.
I will say Penn State, that game at USC, down 20-6 at half. That's a game they lose, I think, the last couple of years with the offensive coordinator they had before, and Drew Aller wasn't as confident, and he looked really good in the second.
They were down 10 with 6 minutes left, weren't
they? And then they were down 7 with under a minute left, and 2 fourth-down completions to Julian Fleming from Southern Columbia, who's finally kind of catching on.
Healthy.
And, getting healthy. So they go to Wisconsin this week. Camp Randall, if it was a noon game or 3:30 game, I'd probably feel more confident, but 7:30, you never know at night. And Camp Randall's a place I want to go to. I've been to Michigan, I've been to Ohio State, Michigan State to watch Penn State play. Camp Randall seems like an awesome place.
I've watched Wisconsin a couple times, and I just don't think they're what they have been the last 10 years. But still a dangerous place to play.
This week, other big games, LSU and A&M. So, that's a nice win. A&M. I didn't realize A&M's gone on a run here since you guys in the first week. So, number 8 LSU, number 14 A&M this week. Other than that, this will be out just before this game happens. Syracuse at Pitt should be a good one. I mean, Syracuse 5-1, Pitt 6-0, Pitt ranked.
Syracuse only lost to Stanford.
Yeah,
which
was a game they should have won, exactly. And I watched that one.
They should be 6-0. Pitt's been surprising. It's been a nice. It's good to see Northeast football. The old Big East football playing well.
Sorry to Rocky Rockwell and Ashley White, but I'd rather see Pitt go like winless every year. But it's fine. No, it's good to see, and that's gonna be a fun one to. I wish that was at the Dome. I might be going up Thursday night to watch that one. Syracuse Pitt, Kyle McCord and company should be a good one.
Boy, what a nice fit he's been for the Orange offense.
Absolutely. It's I think it was the best Fran Brown, the Syracuse coach, after one of their early wins. He went on his press conference and said, I want to thank Ohio State for letting him go. Send them a bottle of champagne or something for letting him walk. So after going, 12-1 and
exactly.
Let him walk there. Number 5 Texas at number 25 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, nice to see them 5-2 ever since James Franklin was there.
They beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So who knows?
21 Missouri at number 15 Alabama. So that's interesting. Want to see if Alabama. I don't know if Kalen DeBoer survives a 3-loss season at Alabama.
Of course, Missouri. They've eked a couple games out that they probably shouldn't have won too. So, they. But you're right. And the funny thing is, they look like the best team in football for the first half against Georgia, and then they had to have a freaking unbelievable throw to the 17-year-old to win the game in the last 5 minutes.
Indiana, number 13 at home against Washington. I'm only bringing Indiana up because I think if DeBoer loses a couple of more games at Alabama, then Cignetti from Indiana might be the new coach at Alabama sooner than later.
I believe their starting quarterback just had surgery on his thumb, Indiana.
Okay.
So that's going to throw a little cold water on their parade.
Yeah, we'll see how they make out Washington coming across country. So for a noon start, I don't know how they doing these noon starts to these West Coast teams.
Yeah, I agree. Unless they're coming in on Fridays.
Yeah. I know Penn State went out on Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of noon starts, I got to get off my chest here. Penn State, Ohio State next week, and if big Fox has the rights to it, so they love that big noon kickoff on Fox. They want to put their best game at noon because they think everybody's going to stay watching Fox the rest of the day. It just pisses me off. But Penn State, Ohio State should be a whiteout at night under the lights. And on the road, it should be a night game at Ohio State, and I don't think we're ever going to get another night game for that game.
I love the noon start. I do, because it's, for me, when I was a kid, I would be glued to the television from noon until whenever. And
I like it when it's not my team. But when it gives Penn State has more of an advantage at night than they do at noon, obviously, because the students aren't riled up yet.
I think this is your year if you're going to beat Ohio State. This is the year to do it.
luckily for Penn State, I think as long as you don't slip up anywhere else, even if you lose to Ohio State, you're in the playoff. But would love to obviously take them down.
If you knock off Ohio State, you're looking pretty good going into the Big Ten
Yeah,
championship game.
against Oregon probably, who we don't play. So this would have been a year to play Michigan and not Ohio State on the schedule. But, but it should be fun to watch. Like you said, I think no real dominant team this year.
I think Georgia's still the best team out there.
Absolutely.
I think Alabama put together a perfect half of football to beat them. And I think Georgia's the team to beat still.
And I wasn't upset at all when Georgia jumped Penn State to go to number 2. Penn State was sitting at 3. Texas loses, but Georgia deserves to jump them. I mean, you got to do it.
What did you think about the Oregon coach coming out and saying that they put 12 men on the field to run the clock down at the end of the game there against Ohio State, and it worked?
Genius. I mean, he says he works on that.
They've also changed that rule now. They plugged the loophole already. So.
You knew that was going to happen, especially when you do it in prime time and talk about it.
Then you admit it and talk about it afterwards.
And then obviously the biggest controversy, it was Georgia, Texas, where they call an awful pass interference call.
Yeah, offense,
and then
defensive,
yeah. But then the Texas fans start throwing water bottles and beer cans or whatever else out there on the field, and they take a break. All of a sudden they come out and they overturn the call without even looking at it. So
never seen that before.
No.
And because in college football you're not allowed to use the scoreboards.
Yeah.
As and I wonder if they looked at if they were watching the scoreboard, because they were showing the replay at the stadium. So I mean, I've never seen that.
They got the call right at the end, but it shouldn't have happened. So that's what you live with in all these sports, when some days are not reviewable. So
yeah, I've never seen that before. I was shocked.
Should be fun to watch, though, going forward with college football. And obviously, we're looking forward to watching the rest of these NTL football teams go forward in the District 4 playoffs. Troy, who we had Evan Woodward on, is a good chance to make a run, I think. Southern,
not what they were.
A little down. So should be interesting to watch going forward. Coming up in episode 19, we'll have Brian Fees from the Southern Tier Sports Report. Looking forward to talking to Brian about all things New York State. We want to thank our sponsor, Jay Lister, LLC, and Lenders Assistance. Give Jim Lister a call, 607-857-2036. Email him at jim.lister@yahoo.com. Let Jim's 30 years in the automobile industry work for you. That's going to do it here for episode 18 of Two Guys Talking Sports.